It's December. We're in North Carolina. We're making travels for the holidays. Going north from here after spending a little time with family, and we're going to Philadelphia. We're at the Raleigh train station on a bitter cold morning, especially for here. It was 15 degrees when we woke up, and we're making our way north to Philadelphia to see family, actually north of there. So we're going to take the Carolinian train. As we arrive here in Raleigh, close to 9:30, the Floridian is pulling into the station and about ready to pick up passengers for its transit onto Chicago. Been traveling north from Raleigh in the past. We've often taken what used to be called the Silver Star, which would take us from Jacksonville or from Raleigh up to, in that case, it would go to Philadelphia. But no more. Silver Star was taken over by the Floridian, and it turns west at Washington as it takes over the Capital Limited route. And so the train no longer goes to Philadelphia. The timing was a little better on that train because it would arrive at about 5:30, and the Amtrak bus would connect to that, would take us up to Allentown. So now we have to spend the night in Philadelphia because there's no buses to Allentown once we get in at 7 o'clock. The Carolinian starts in Charlotte and takes a local route through North Carolina, stopping at many of the North Carolina cities along the I-85, I-40 corridor. Once it leaves Raleigh, it will dip south a little bit, go to Selma, Wilson, and Rocky Mount before resuming what is a pretty typical route north for the other major lines, stopping Petersburg, Richmond, on its way to Washington, Philadelphia, and New York. Raleigh has a pretty long walk to get from the station to the tracks. The train is due to arrive in about 5 minutes, and I think we'll get out on the platform just as it does, if that's really the case. So the train has not arrived, and the wind is really chilly. So we only had to wait about 4 minutes up here. It just felt like longer because it was so cold. And we'll be anxious to get on board and warm up again. Here comes the Carolinian. Boarding in Raleigh was a bit chaotic. We weren't given assigned seats and had to pass through into a second car before finding 2 seats together. This car had half of its seats facing away from the direction of travel, and the seats we found were among those facing backward. This made for an unusual perspective as the train made its way north. As we pull out of Rocky Mount, we are leaving our last stop in North Carolina. We'll be heading north to Virginia, and Petersburg will be our next stop in Virginia. So we head out of Richmond. We're running late, but the train trip's been pretty smooth, and I think our ETA is probably about an hour behind at this point. The frigid cold had created problems servicing the train at its origin in Charlotte. So some car bathrooms weren't working because they couldn't take on water. This was solved in Richmond since we had a longer stop and the temperatures around noon were much warmer. We were about 90 minutes late arriving in Philadelphia, so we were anxious to get to our hotel and settle in for the night. Although it was less than a mile away, we took a ride there given the late hour. We would walk the same distance in the morning. It's another brisk morning in Philadelphia, and we're headed back towards the train station. We'll catch a bus later in the morning to go to Allentown. We would spend a week in Allentown before heading south again on the Carolinian.